Welcome to the Eastside King James Bible University, the East Side where the sun rises. Teachings coming to you precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little. Buckle up and get ready for the lesson. Countdown starting. Let's begin. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's get into it.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. This is Deacon Kahleial with the King James Bible University. And today's teaching is titled, A Hypocrite's Walk. My brothers and sisters, on this journey, one thing that has to happen is that if we're going to be saying that we're going to be following the Spirit of God, and doing those things that's pleasing to Him, and doing those things that's required of us, my brothers and sisters, we have to make sure that if we say these things, that we're going to actually do them, so that we can avoid being a hypocrite, saying one thing and doing something else, or having a false appearance of something, worrying about how something looks. We need to be operating and functioning righteously. We need to be actually doing something on this journey. Okay, so this is a teaching that I'm going to say out the gate. This is an issue that I was doing. So don't think this is about somebody else. This is about me, because we're going to look at a couple of elements that is going to tie to a hypocrite or somebody who is practicing hypocrisy. Because if this is something that we're doing, we have to stop doing that. We cannot be self-righteous. We can't sit there and think that we're going to be telling somebody something, and as in, oh, you're doing this or you're doing. We don't need to be operating like that. We don't need to be sitting there being pretty much putting our own metric on somebody else. We don't do that. We need to hold fast to what's recorded in Scripture and follow the ways of the Most High and seek Him diligently, seek Him daily. That's what we need to do. And keep in remembrance all the things that we vowed to Him, and also keeping in remembrance what's required of us. Okay, we don't want to forget any of these things. So with that being said, we're going to get started with this teaching, starting here in Matthew 7:21, which reads, Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. Okay, so this is something that is crucial. We need to be doing the will of the Father, no matter what. This is something that we need to do. So, not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. And we're going to read down to 27. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? And in thy name have cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonderful works. And then I will profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you that work iniquity. Therefore, for that reason, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man, which built his house upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. Okay? And everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. Okay, so this passage illustrates the importance of doing the will of the Father no matter what, holding fast to the ways of righteousness and keeping these things in remembrance. Our foundation needs to be on Christ always, and not on our own understanding or another's. Okay, so it has to only be on Christ. We will have an issue if we decide to go our own way, and if we go our own way, we're gonna fall. So it is crucial that our trust is in Yahweh, and that we're seeking the things that are pleasing to Him, and to do them with a sincere heart. Okay, so let me actually go ahead and open up. Hold on. I'm gonna open up two Bibles really quick. All right. From here, let's leave that on the screen. Let's go to Job 8 and 13. It says, so are the paths of all that forget Yahweh, that forget God, and the hypocrite's hope shall perish, whose hope shall be cut off, and whose trust shall be a spider's web. Okay? Verse 15, he shall lean upon his house, but it shall not stand. He shall hold it fast, but it shall not endure. We just saw in Matthew why that's going to happen, but we need to see even closer. So now let's go to Job. Let's jump to Job 27 and 8. And we're going to read from 8 to 10. For what is the hope of the hypocrite, though he hath gained, when God taketh away his soul? Because a hypocrite is going to be doing stuff just to be seen. So they're going to be gaining vain things. They're going to be gaining temporary things, because they're going to be saying they're going to be doing this, but they're going to be doing something else. So for what is the desired expectation of the hypocrite, though he have gained, when God taketh away his soul? Will God hear his cry when trouble cometh upon him? Verse 10. Will he delight himself in the Almighty? Will he always call upon God? No, a hypocrite is not going to always call upon God, because he's going to do stuff his way. He's not going to delight himself in the Almighty. So this is very serious, showing the importance of wholehearted devotion to the Most High God. We cannot sit here and think we can go halfway on this journey and think that the Most High is going to be pleased with this. We cannot be half-hearted and only go to God whenever we want something or we need something. So that's not how this works. A hypocrite is going to say one thing and do another. They're going to look the part and not play the part. So we cannot sit here and treat the Most High God as if he's some type of genie in a bottle. This isn't that. Our intentions need to be pure and completely set on serving Jehovah. That's what needs to happen. Okay, so we're gonna go to Wisdom of Solomon 1:1 down to 3. It says, what? Love righteousness. All right. So promise righteousness, love righteousness, ye that be judges of the earth, teachers of the earth. Think of the Creator with a good heart. All right. And in simplicity of heart, seek him. This is what we need to do. And this is something that we need to do every day. Okay. because I mean we're from the earth. So, and he's from heaven. So what sense does it make to think that we have the capacity to do anything ourselves? That doesn't make any sense. So love righteousness. You that be teachers, judges of the earth, think of the creator with the good heart, and in simplicity of heart seek him. For he will be found of them that tempt him not, and showeth himself unto such as do not distrust him. So if you don't trust him, which means that we're wavering, we have a lack of faith, we don't sincerely trust him, then we're not going to be able to learn. Because keep this in mind, all the knowledge of him is in his word. And how can we be shown this if we don't trust him? For he will be found of them that tempt him not. So we're not going to be sitting here playing games. And showeth himself unto such as do not distrust him. Okay? For forward thoughts, wicked thoughts separate from God. So this sin is going to separate from God and his power. When it is tried, reprove it, the unwise. So you're going to get corrected if you thinking this is something else. All right? And we have to keep this in mind, that the Most High God knows everything that's going on within us. And if we really trying to seek after him and do what's right, he's going to know what's going on. He's the one that can see everything no matter what. So Hebrews 4:12 will tell us, for the word of God is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit, and of the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart. So he knows exactly the purpose and reason on why we do what we do and why we're doing the things that we're doing. Are we really trying to learn and seek after him, or are we really just trying to do something else? He knows this stuff. And this is something that we have to keep in mind as well. That he can see everything. This is not for somebody to sit here and do something wrong on purpose and say, oh, God knows my heart. Nah. If you make a mistake or you're struggling with something, he knows what it is that you're trying to do and the purpose. But don't sit there and think, oh, I'm going to do this this one time and it's going to be okay. That's not how that one work. If you doing something wrong on purpose, he see that you being wicked. So, and if we sitting here being wicked, let's go over here to Psalms 10. We're going to go to 4, 6, and 7. It says, the wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after God. But we saw up there, and I'm going to go back to it, in Wisdom of Solomon 1:1, it say, love righteousness, you that be judges of the earth. Think of the Lord with a good heart, and in simplicity of heart seek him. So this is what we need to do. But right here it says in Psalms 10:4, the wicked through the pride of his countenance will not seek after God. God is not in all his thoughts. So this is an issue. Let's go to verse 6 in Psalms 10. He have said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. Let's go to 7. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. So a hypocrite thinks that they're going to skate by easily and won't go through anything. These ones are going to speak worthless things and practice mischief, okay? So that's what's going to be going on. So we need to ensure that that our deeds and actions are aligned with the ways of righteousness, walking in obedience to the Most High God. Our works must be done in sincerity of heart and also come from within, not this physical observance. And now we think that we're good, okay? But inwardly changing and conforming to the Spirit. This is something that must be active in this walk. And we need to be faithful in this, okay? We cannot simply say that we're following Christ and we have absolutely no works to reflect that. We need to have true and genuine faith and not empty words, okay? Saying that we're going to do it and we don't hold to it. So we need to say it and do it, okay? Because we can't say one thing and then do something else. And this is something that we need to say and stand on what we saying across the board, okay? So we're gonna from here, still looking at this, we're gonna go to Matthew 15:8, which says, "This people draweth nigh unto me," so they draw near unto me with their mouth. They saying it and honor it to me with their lips. So they showing all this respect with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But we saw what we need to do within our hearts, okay? That's something that we need to do. But here's the thing. The ones that where it's saying that the wicked through the pride of his countenance will not seek after God. God is not in all his thoughts. This is an issue, okay? So we're gonna go to Matthew 23:27. And it say, "Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like unto whited sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outward, but are within full of dead men's bones and of all uncleanness, because the desire is not towards the Most High God." That's the problem. We need to seek after him every day, and we need to make sure that we're aligned with him in all things. Let's go to verse 28. "Even so, you outwardly appear righteous unto men, but within you are full of hypocrisy and iniquity." Okay? So we cannot have this within ourselves at all, because we saw back in Wisdom of Solomon 1:1 that we need to think of the Creator with a good heart, and in simplicity of heart seek him. So right here it says, "Even so you outwardly appear righteous unto men," because the hypocrisy is having that appearance of it, but this needs to be genuine. That's what needs to happen. "But within you are full of hypocrisy and iniquity." Okay, so full of hypocrisy and acts of sins. Okay, because this sort is going to be doing this in Isaiah 65:5, which say, "Stand by thyself, come not near me, for I am holier than thou. These are a smoke in my nose, a fire that burneth all the day." So this is what a hypocrite will actually do, is this here. So this is something that's very serious. They're going to be acting high and mighty, better than somebody else, sitting there thinking that they have all the answers and that they're going to be doing this sort of thing. That's not what needs to be happening at all. This journey requires dedication to serving Jehovah and truly following after him. We cannot by any means necessary say that we're going to follow him, but then do something else, or put ourselves in a position where we're going to try to act high and mighty as if we're better than someone else, or trying to enforce our own ideas on what is right. Okay? This behavior illustrates one who is inwardly sick. This is one who's going to talk the talk but not walk the walk. We have to sincerely serve and dedicate our works to the Spirit of God and do what is right in his sight, forsaking all unrighteousness. Outward expressions and observances does not make one righteous. And those who will operate and believe that they are, based on all these physical things that they're going to do, are hypocrites. This shows one who wants the appearance of righteousness but neglects the inward transformation and process that is required, and will sit there and speak on others and what they perceive others to be doing, but never looking at themselves and their own actions and ensuring that they themselves are aligned with Jehovah's will. Okay? So we need to align ourselves. We need to align our hearts with the law of God, so the truth of God, and operate according to the Spirit. Okay, that's what needs to happen. So we're gonna look at Sirach 33:2, which reads, "A wise man hateth not the law, but he that is a hypocrite therein is as compared to a ship in a storm." So a ship in a storm, that ship is going to be in an unstable situation. Okay, so this you can look at a hypocrite also as somebody who is double-minded. So that ship in the storm, that ship is going to be in an unstable situation, having waves crashing against that ship. Okay, think about, you know, a ship that's out there in the sea. Okay, we're gonna look at that example. And then it's a strong storm that's out there, and you have all these waves coming up, and it's hitting the ship. It's hitting it. It's hitting it. It's hitting it. It's hitting it. And so this is the type of situation that a hypocrite is going to find themselves in. So a ship in a storm, that ship is going to be in an unstable situation, having waves crashing against that ship, and can ultimately capsize the ship, meaning that that ship will be overturned, okay, and destroyed. So a hypocrite is unstable because they're not grounded in the truth, saying one thing but doing another. They have no protection from the waves, okay? So we need to hold fast to these instructions and do them. We are only going to confuse ourselves by leaning to our own understandings and not committing to what we're saying that we're going to do, okay? So now from here, let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 2 and 14, which reads, a wise man's eyes are in his head. Now, that's a full thought. But it says, but however, the fool walketh in darkness. And I myself perceived also that one event happeneth to them all. Okay? So no matter what, this flesh is going to die. This is going to happen to us all. But on this journey, we do not want to walk in darkness, okay? We don't want to walk in blindness or blinded to the spiritual truth of the Most High God. We know that we cannot lean to our own understanding. This is what keeps us in darkness, okay? So our eyes need to be on Christ. So looking at the wise man's eyes are in his head, okay? Let's go to First Corinthians 11 and 3, section A. But I would have you know that the head of every man, male or female, is Christ. Okay, that's a full thought, so we're gonna stop right there. Okay, and this is completely illustrating to us that we need to ensure that we're following Christ and following his ways, because if a wise man's eyes are in his head, but I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ. We all have a responsibility to be following this word, no matter what, and no matter the circumstance or the condition. Not saying that we're going to do it, but do something else. We need to stay in our position, and that's being that sheep following Christ. So, but I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, because in Christ is true wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and true life, because the wisdom that comes from this word brings life, because this is the very thing that our souls need to live. So this is all very clear. Wow, yeah, that's actually very clear. So we gonna continue with that. So we're gonna look at Psalms 107 and 29, which reads, he maketh the storm calm, so that the waves thereof are still. Who? Christ. Christ is going to make that storm calm, so that the waves thereof are still. Why? Because if we getting hit with all these waves, we going to be confused. Okay? And we going to only confuse ourselves by leaning to our own understanding, because our wisdom, the way we think, is from the ground. So we need to hold to the wisdom that comes from above. We need to hold to the word. That's very clear. So this word is the only thing that can calm the storm and make those waves still. So our actions must match our words in this journey. We do not want to live as hypocrites. That's not something that we want to do. So from here, let's go to Proverbs 3, and we're going to go from 5 through 7. It says, trust in the Spirit of God with all thine heart. It keeps going back to it, because the issue with a hypocrite is that their heart is not right. And I have to admit that that was something that was wrong with me, not realizing it, blinded with a beam in my own eye. That's something that is clear. You're going to be blinded by leaning to your own understanding and being self-righteous. You're going to have a beam in your eye. You're not going to be able to see. This is all tying together. So trust in the Spirit of God with all thine heart, and lean not to thine own understanding. Stay up out of that water that's below. Okay. Verse 6. In all thy ways acknowledge him. Okay. And he shall direct thy paths. Okay. Verse 7. Be not wise in thine own understandings. Desire the Spirit of God and depart from evil. Okay. But here's the problem though. Let's go to Ezekiel 16 and 15. But thou didst trust in thine own beauty. So we trusted in our own ways of doing things. We trusted in our own laws, our own customs, all right? And played the harlot because of thy renown. Why? Because we trying to be seen by other people, and we want other people to look at this in that way. So we being a hoe. And we being a hoe towards the Most High God, because we supposed to be following him and not our own ways. We are bound to the law. I'm going to go there in a minute. Yeah. But thou didst trust thine own beauty and playedst the harlot because of thy renown, and poured out thy fornications on everyone that passed by. We're going to stop there at that full thought. Okay, because if we sitting here doing that, then we're doing forbidden practices, and we're not supposed to lean to our own understanding and be self-righteous. Now we doing practices that are forbidden. We're supposed to be practicing righteousness. That's what we're supposed to be doing. So spiritually, we're not aligned with Jehovah, because we're going our own ways. So we have to ensure that we're aligned with him. We don't want to be no harlot. That's not what we want to be. So now from here, this wasn't in the teaching, but let me see here. We're gonna go over here to Romans. All right. Romans 7 and 2. It says, for the woman which hath an husband is bound by the law to her husband so long as he liveth. But if the husband be dead, she is loosed from the law of her husband. Okay. So understanding this, it says, but thou didst trust in thy own beauty. So our own law, so our own customs, our own ways, and played the harlot because of thy renown. Okay. But it says, for the woman which hath a husband is bound to the law to her husband so long as he liveth. So we have to understand that right here in Jeremiah, let me see this. I was 14. I was off. Jeremiah 3:14, it say, turn, O backsliding children, saith the Spirit of God, for I am married unto you. So understanding that Christ is our husband, and Christ is everlasting, he's never going to die. It say, for the woman which hath a husband is bound by the law to her husband as long as he liveth. So that means we always need to be following his ways and not our own, because then we're going to be, that's cheating on our husband if we sit there and do that. So we don't want to lean to our own understanding. We need to make sure that we remember these things and get up out of these things. We don't want to be a harlot. We don't want to be doing forbidden practices. We don't want to be fornicating. And we need to diligently search this word and make sure that we're doing what it is that we need to be doing. So leaning to your own understanding is no different than being a harlot. We cannot sit there and think that we're something. Oh yeah, I'm this. Yeah, I'm that. Oh yeah, this that, and then practice things that we're not supposed to. We're supposed to be bound to the law of our husband, so we have to follow Christ. And this requires us trusting in him. So if we're saying we trust him, we must follow his lead and follow his instructions. Not saying that we will, but then when things get tough, start crumbling under pressure. Not saying we will, and then putting our own metric on somebody else. Not saying that we will, but then turning around and doing something else. Not saying that we will, but then we forget what it is that we need to do. We cannot be a hypocrite on this journey. A wise man's eyes are in his head, but is our eyes in something else? We say we follow Jehovah, but are we being fearful? I know that fear is going to ruin everything. But yet when things get rough for me, I know I be getting caught up. I'm just going to speak on me. I know sometimes I have moments of doubt because I'll be thinking, man, I don't want to offend him. My whole thing is I'm not trying to sit there and do what's displeasing to the Most High. But then right here, but if I'm operating in fear, I'm operating outside of the knowledge, and that's not pleasing to him. This is straightforward stuff. So we need to know exactly who our God is and believe in him. Don't say that you will, but then you don't. We have to learn integrity to be confident and stand on what it is that we say. If we say we're following Christ, we need to be confident and stand on that. Don't be lukewarm and be halfway, and don't say one thing and do another. When you make a promise to God, keep it no matter what. And if you fail, you need to get that right, because if you choose to make an excuse, you're never going to succeed. You're never going to fulfill anything that you need to do, because we need to be faithful to our husband. I hope that y'all hear what I'm actually saying. So when it comes to speaking with other people, we still need to stand on what it is that we need to do. So if we make a promise to others, we need to be prepared to follow through. We cannot make it a habit to make empty promises to others. Okay, so it's a whole different thing if you make the promise and then you don't actually have an intent to follow through. You're just a liar at that point, because you never had it in your heart to actually do what was right. But if you're struggling with things and need to get this right, we need to correct this behavior. Okay, we need to remember the promises that we make, and we need to have integrity, being faithful in the promise that we make, because a harlot is unfaithful. So that means that a harlot ain't going to be following through on what they gonna say. They gonna do something. They gonna say one thing and do something else. That's just really straightforward. That's extremely straightforward. So we need to keep the commandments, and if we're saying one thing, we need to remember to do it. Okay. So from here, let's go to Numbers 15, 38 through 40. It says, speak unto the children of Israel and bid them that they make, wait a minute. No, that was right. Yeah. Speak unto the children of Israel and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders a riband of blue. All right. Verse 39. And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that you may look upon it and remember all the commandments of the Spirit of God and do them, and that you seek not after your own heart and your own understandings, after which you used to go a whoring. Yeah. 40. That you may remember and do all my commandments and be separated unto your guide. Okay, so a fringe is something that keeps you in remembrance. So when it comes to these instructions, we need to keep what we need to do in remembrance. Okay, so this was all broken down on a roundtable video, and I'll touch on some of the things. So right here, and it says a fringe. So we know that the fringe, that's something that is going to be helping us keep in remembrance. Okay, so even looking at it on the physical part, you know, we're not sitting here doing things just to have this outward appearance. This fringe is to help you remember, because it clearly says, and it shall be unto you for a fringe, that you may look upon it. So it's not to where everybody needs to see, oh, look, I'm keeping the commandments, I have my fringes on. No, that's camp mindset. That's a Pharisee mindset, because they're going to be seeking to be seen by people. You can have your fringes on underneath, okay? But spiritually, we need to keep in remembrance the commandments. So right here, keeping this in the remembrance, and then it's talking about right here that they put upon the fringe of the borders a ribband of blue. So this ribband of blue, this is something that is going to be tying everything together. And all right, and we will be protected by these instructions and these commandments. All right, so we need to be yoked to the Spirit of God. We need to be joined to the Spirit of God and learn of His ways. Okay, so spiritually, we need to make sure that we're continuously learning and keeping these things in our remembrance. Okay, so just wearing that physical garment is one thing, but inwardly we need to have that fringe, keeping the wisdom and knowledge of God in remembrance. Wisdom should be what is covering us. Okay, so we need to keep our eyes in our head. So we need to remember these things. When it comes to making commitments or promises, one way that can help us keep these in memory, is journaling. Okay, so let me see. If we know that we're gonna make a promise or a commitment, write it out first and see if that's something that you're willing to do. Never get in a habit of just making promises and vows just to be doing it. Oh, I swear I'm gonna do this. I swear I'm gonna do that. No, I promise I'm gonna do this. I promise. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't. Just don't do that. Okay? You write it out first and see if that's something that you're willing to do. Never get into a habit of just making promises and vows just to do it. Don't do that with the Most High at all. And don't do this with people at all. Because we don't want to be a hypocrite in the sight of men, and we most definitely don't want to be a hypocrite in the sight of the Most High. We don't want to be doing that at all, okay? So, and you know what? Since I said that, let me go here, because this is what I was talking about. Since I said it. It say it. Sirach 1:29. Be not a hypocrite in the sight of men, and take good heed what thou speakest. That's all I'm saying. So, one thing that can help us keep things in our memory is journaling. So, if we write down the things that we're going to say in terms of like what we're going to promise or commitments, that can help us remember it. Because I have a notebook in here to where I recently started picking up on it, because I realized what I was doing and I needed to know, like, okay, what are ways that I can correct this. So I have a notebook or a journal, and I just journal. It could be events that happen throughout the day, what's going on in this journey, in this spiritual walk. And then the same thing is, if I know I'm gonna make a vow or a commitment, I need to write that down in that journal, so I can look over it. I can continue to look over it. I can continue to keep it in my remembrance, so I can make sure that I'm doing it. Okay, when it comes to the vows and things of that like. Okay, so with that right there, we need to be intentional and ensure that we're going to be keeping these things. Okay, you could do that same thing if you agree to do something with a person. I was giving advice on being at work. If my boss might tell me to do something, and it's true that when you start working, you can get caught up in the flow of work. It's so much stuff that happens and you can forget, but they still told you to do it. And once again, see, that's not, you're not intentionally trying to do something against your boss or against your job to lose your job, but it's the flow of everything. But what helps is same thing I was giving advice on, but we can apply this to a couple things. Keeping a notebook. I keep a notebook, a little pocketbook in my pocket. It's a miniature notebook. I'll write down different thoughts and things that's in there. Now if my boss tells me something, that's what I need to do. I need to, make sure I have my separate notebook for that. But even when it comes to my studies, I have a little notebook for that, to where, I could write down my meditation and the things. And then when I go back and I'm able to look at the scriptures and study, it helps keep my mind in remembrance. When it comes to things that I need to do, there's that journal. It's showing that is keeping these things that's there to help us stay in remembrance, because we're intentionally trying to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, and that's not something that's just looked over. If we're not trying to do it, best believe, we saw back up there in that Hebrews, the Most High knows what you're doing. So don't think that he don't, because you can't hide what you're trying to do no matter what. That's just what it is. So if we make a vow or promise, we need to make sure that we fulfill that, because a promise is made of commitment, unwavering dedication to maintain one's word and duty, regardless of the circumstances. So it don't matter. We need to pick these things up and do what we need to do. Do what's right. Because if you're making an excuse, you're going to fail. It's simple as that. So when it comes to making a promise to somebody else, don't rush to just make commitments and promises to other people. Take the time to know if that's something that you want to do. Okay? When it comes to us putting our own metric on others, or sitting there thinking we pulling a mote out of somebody's eyes, we need to check ourselves. All right? So now let's get back to the scripture on that point. Micah 6:8, which tells us, he have showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doeth the Spirit of God require of thee, but to do justly, and to love mercy, promise mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. Okay, so 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 1 and 2. Wherefore, laying aside all malice and all guile and hypocrisies and envies, because somebody who's going to have envy is going to be a hypocrite, and all evil speakings, okay? As compared to newborn babes, desire the sincere milk of the word, that you may grow thereby. So we need to deeply humble ourselves in this journey, okay? We have to humble ourselves. So as compared to a newborn baby, as compared to newborn babes, desire the sincere milk of the word, that you may grow thereby. Okay. 2 Peter 1 and 5. And beside this, giving all diligence, add to your faith virtue. Okay. And to your virtue, and to virtue knowledge. 6. And to knowledge temperance, and to temperance patience. So once we have knowledge, we need to have that self-control to follow through on it. We need to have that temperance, and to temperance patience. And as we do this, we need to be patient in doing it. And the patience, godliness. Okay, so we need to have that righteousness. All right, now let's go to verse 7 and 8. And to godliness, brotherly kindness, and to brotherly kindness, charity. Okay, all these things, this is stuff that we need. All right, that's the transition that we need to do. We need to get off that hypocrisies and the envies and get on these. Okay, for if these be in you, and abound, they make you that you shall neither be barren nor unfruitful in the knowledge of our creator of salvation, Jehovah. Okay? So let me see how much I got left. This has to be an hour. Yes. So this is what needs to happen here. Without these things, we're going to mess this up. This is very straightforward. From here, let's go to 2 Peter 3:14. Wherefore, for that reason, beloved, seeing that you look for such things, be diligent, that you may be found of him in peace, without spot and blameless. This is what we want to do. Okay? I'm gonna do another teaching, and it's gonna be on this, because this is we need to be blameless, and we need to know how to be blameless, because that's very important. Okay? So from here, let's go to Romans 12:16 through 18. Be of the same mind one toward another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceits. Recompense no man evil for evil. Provide all things honest in the sight of all men. 18. If it be possible, as much lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. So it's not for us to be self-righteous and think we know something or we doing something. We get warnings every single day. So it's not for us to sit there and think, oh, they're doing this or that. We don't need to sit there and think that we need to put what we think is right on somebody else. And we definitely don't need to think we're better than others either, being high-minded. Not us being a self-righteous hypocrite thinking we finna pull a mote out of somebody's eye. I'm talking to Kahleial. So trying to be seen by others, putting on this show, we need to change our heart. We need to turn to the Spirit of God and ask for his help and be transformed by the word and walk in his ways and not our own. Okay? So from here, let's go to Jeremiah 10:23. And it reads, O Spirit of God, I know that the way of man is not in himself. It is not in man that walketh to direct his steps. Psalms 119 and 133. Order my steps in thy word, and let not any iniquity have dominion over me. All right. Jeremiah 10:24. O Spirit of God, correct me, but with judgment, with these doctrines and teachings, not in thine anger, lest thou bring me to nothing. Okay? Psalms 119, 155. Salvation is far from the wicked, for they seek not thy statutes. So we have to ensure that we're aligning ourselves with the wisdom that comes from this word, and ensure that that our actions align with our words. Okay? Being hearers of the word, not just being that, but being doers of the word. Not saying that we're going to do it and not follow through. We need to always seek his statutes. We need to seek these paths to follow. We need to seek the path of righteousness. Okay? So from here, let's go to 1 Chronicles 16 and 11. And we're going to go from 11, 12, and then to 15. Seek the Spirit of God and his strength. Seek his face, his favor, his presence continually. Okay? All right. Seek the Spirit of God and his strength. Seek his face, his presence, his favor continually. All right. Let's go down to 12. Remember his marvelous works that he hath done, his wonders, in the doctrines and teachings of his mouth. Okay? This is what needs to happen. Let's drop down to 15. Be ye mindful always of his covenant, his agreement, the word which he commanded to 1,000 generations. Okay. Now from here, let's go to Deuteronomy 10 and 12. And now Israel, what doeth the Spirit of God thy guide require of thee, but to desire the Spirit of God thy guide, to walk in all his ways, and to promise him, and to serve the Spirit of God thy guide with all thy heart and with all thy soul. 13. To keep the commandments of the Spirit of God and his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good. Leviticus 19:18. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Spirit of God. So if we're saying that we're going to do it, do it. Don't turn away from it after you said you was going to do it. Learn what needs to be done and apply these things to your life as you go. Okay? Because this is very, very, very important. All right? We need to make sure that we're holding on to his ways and not our own. We need to make sure that we're walking in the Spirit and not succumbing to this flesh, not succumbing to our own thoughts, not succumbing to our own ideas, not succumbing to our own things. This journey is difficult. We can sit there and we can have an actual zeal, this genuine desire to do what is right. But if it's not according to knowledge, then we're going to fail. So this is letting us clearly know that we need to say, if we're going to say it, we need to do it. But we need to keep these things in remembrance and practice his ways. Practice that. Because if we don't, then we're going to be sitting here operating as hypocrites. This is not what we want at all. Okay? So you see what this teaching is really encompassing. What is going on? Okay? So from here, let's go to Matthew 5:37. And it says, but let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay. For whatsoever is more than these cometh of evil. It's very straightforward, very, very direct things that we need to be doing. We don't need to be getting caught up in all this other stuff. Be straightforward, be honest, and we need to have that integrity. Okay? Because if we sitting here leaning to our own understanding in our own ways, then we have an issue because we don't want to be a hypocrite. So let's go to Matthew 5:20, because we don't want to operate like a Pharisee. It says, for I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, you shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. Because we know that a Pharisee is going to be a straight hypocrite. So there we saw back up there that their house is going to fall. Their house is not going to stand. Why? Because they heart, they not seeking after the Spirit of God. They only gonna sit there and call upon him when they need something, when they want something, not because they really want a relationship with him. And if we're sitting here doing these things to our brothers and sisters, then we still messing up, because we not supposed to be sitting there calling ourselves, oh, I'm gonna pull the moat out there, I'm gonna do this. But then you're gonna sit there and you essentially throwing rocks at them, not looking at yourself. This is what the problem is. So we need to really watch what we're doing and what we're saying and how we're conducting ourselves, because if we sit there and put ourselves in this type of position, then it's going to be really difficult for us. It's going to be very hard. You're going to be sitting there wondering why you're confused, why you're going through things, why you're having these troubles, these issues. This is not something that we want to have happen, okay? So looking at this, because this right here is what a Pharisee is going to sit here and do. Not looking at theyself. The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, because the Most High ain't hearing this prayer. He said, it says, the Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself: God, I thank thee that I am not as other men are, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as this publican. Talking about everybody else and not they self, being a hypocrite. And this is more than just being a hypocrite. It is crucial that we hold to the vows we make with God and seek that which is well pleasing to him and walk in his way and not our own. Not to operate in hypocrisy, wanting to be seen of others, having a false appearance, doing things to be seen of others for vainglory. Okay? Being high-minded and unfaithful. We need integrity on this journey and to keep the commandments no matter what. Having the knowledge of the truth. We must trust in the Spirit of God and be faithful to him by obeying his voice and instructions. Keep in mind, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, will be self-righteous, meaning that they have filthy rags. They're going to sit there and want to tear someone else down, exalt themselves, and boast what they're doing. That's all for show, and it makes no sense. That self-exalting is envious. That putting someone else down is envious. Sitting there with a beam in your eye, trying to pull a mote out of somebody else's eye, is envious. So our righteousness needs to be in faith and obedience to Jehovah. That's what our righteousness needs to be. Not our own way of doing things, okay? So the last two texts I'm going to pull is going to be in Proverbs 20, 6 and 7. Okay? Hold on, wait a minute. It says, most men will proclaim every one his own goodness, but a faithful man who can find? Verse 7. The just man walketh in his integrity. His children are blessed after him. All right? Because the just man is going to stand on what he believes and stand on what he says. Okay? So we need to be founded on that rock, and that rock is Christ. Being faithful to Jehovah and his instructions and committing our works unto him, having our works consecrated unto him, having a sincere, genuine heart dedicated to serving him no matter what. His yoke is easy and his burden is light. So we owe everything to him, and we need to make sure that we serve him genuinely. Not sitting here feeling like we're forced to do anything. Not sitting here, oh, I'm doing this because, oh, I need to do this. We can't be getting into that behavior, and we can't be getting into that mindset. We cannot walk as a hypocrite. So, with that being said, my brothers and sisters, be diligent on the journey and check yourself on what it is that needs to happen. Like I said, this teaching is about me. So don't think I'm coming after somebody else, but do your own reflection and your own investigating within yourselves on what's going on, okay? So this is all very straightforward. I might do a follow-up of this. I'm not guaranteeing that, because I need to continue to see deeper on certain things on here. But this one here, I had to make sure I handled this one here. So with that, my brothers and sisters, I hope somebody was richly edified by this and has understanding on what these things look like and what needs to happen. And I thank each and every one of y'all for coming out today. This has been Deacon Kahleial, And I say unto each and every one of you, shalom.